was he in? Do you know? Did he ever?
I don't know.
Did he ever talk about it? Much?
Not that I ever knew of. But I don't know where it tells about the battles on there or not. Do you, Mitchell?
He was captured in Georgia, Millport, Georgia. He was a prisoner of war for like 3 months, something like that, and the war ended, and he let him go.
Yeah.
It tells on that thing there that you looked at.
Mm-hmm. It says that he was...
When he was born and when you could enlist in the service at any grocery store or little post office or anywhere. The Confederates.
Now, something that me and Raymond couldn't figure out. Your granddad, were they moving from Georgia to Alabama, or were they moving, going through Alabama?
At that time?
Mm-hmm. Or when, I guess it was your aunt that, when she was little, she died of the measles? Wasn't it?
No,
the one that was...
yeah, it was my mother's sister. When they was coming here in covered wagons from Georgia. And my mother and this other little girl's name was Sally. She is younger than Mom. And they got out, Grandpa let them get out of the wagon and walk along to rest them. And they walked and she ate icicles spewing up and took pneumonia and died. And she was, they was camped out at that time in an old house up here at Jess Wall's, old empty house. And they carried her to Union Chapel Church. They won't no graveyard there. But they carried her up there and buried her. Grandpa did.
Mm-hmm.
And she is the first and buried in that tombstone, in that graveyard. She don't have a tombstone.
Were they coming to this part of Alabama, or were y'all moving through, or were they?
Yeah, they was coming through here to
Where were
this
they?
country.
Where were they headed? They just...
I never did know. They just stopped here after she died. I don't know. And there was another covered wagon coming through that Grandpa met up with on the road, and they'd got to talking to each other, and they'd talk back and forth, ride back and forth together, and in the wagons. And I've heard Grandpa say when they got to the river bridge, or some bridge, the river anyhow, Grandpa said, well, this is Walker County. And said, that old man said, yeah, and by God, we'll walk her out if we get out. Said, it's just mud, you know, up to the buggy wagon wheels.
Uh-huh.
And I've heard him talk about, after the war was over, they'd go through and kill their cattle and stuff, you know. They had like cows and horses, anything possession. And old man Green, I've heard him tell, that was May's daddy-in-law, about his brother was in that war. And after the war was over, he was out of trying to keep them from killing his cow, and they shot him and killed him.
Oh.
And said there's anything they could do, you know, that they could get by with, they'd do it.
Now, was Caleb Green your granddad or your great-granddad?
He's my granddad.
Your granddad.
He's Mo's daddy.
He was Indian, wasn't he?
No, he won't as much Indian as Mo. I guess had Indian in him, but he won't as much as Mo had.
What about that razor you was talking about that your grandpa?
Yeah, my great-grandpa had slaves. And he was sitting at the table one day counting his money, and one of the slaves knocked him in the head and killed him and got his money and run off with it. but they caught him, and they just caught him and hung him to a tree, killed him. And Mom had the razor they cut him down with when after I was married, but I don't know whatever went with it.
Oh.
Yeah. This straight razor.
Now Caleb, was he, where was he born, do you know?
Does it tell on that where he was born?
He was born in Georgia.
He was born in Georgia? So, would his parents or his grandparents, would they have been the ones to come over from Germany?
I just don't know that. I don't know where his parents and all come from. Of course, I never did remember them, no.
Well, did you ever talk to him much? Did you see him?
Yeah, I followed him a plowing. He plowed a mare, and I'd follow him when I was little in the field, and Grandpa had this blacking out spell every once in a while, and my aunt stayed with him, took care of him after he got old. And after Grandma died, she just lived on with him. And he plowed this mare, and Auntie would send us over there carrying him fresh water and to see about him. The field of plowing, and he had this little colt run along with its mother in the field. And that was the horse that Charlie made his living for years with. I never knew him to have one horse.
Yeah.
Is Charlie his son?
Yeah. And he plowed that old little colt that growed up, and got grown. And he plowed it all the years that he farmed. I reckon he taught school till he's 40-year-old, Charlie did. And then he farmed from then on. That's all he ever done for a living, is farm.
And what had Caleb done for a living? Was he just a farmer?
I don't know. He must have been a farmer. I don't know. He had one boy that didn't come, I don't reckon, that come with him in the covered wagons. Because he died in Macon, Georgia. He was a sheriff in Macon, Georgia. And he died there. I don't reckon he had come with him. It is Ma, Sally, and Ma, and Henry, and Charlie, and Andy all come with kids. There was 7 in that covered wagon.
Do you know of anyone else in the family who was in the war?
No. You mean of the Green family? In that war, or?
In the Civil War.
I can't remember nobody, none of the rest of them. I never have heard him say, I never did hear him say anything about the rest of them.
Yeah. Well, how many brothers and sisters did you have? Me and Raymond were trying to think of.
I had
all
2
of them.
sisters, and Ruth, Clyde, Bruce, and 4 brothers.
4 brothers.
7 mothers.
I couldn't remember if it was 3 or 4.
Ruth's the oldest, and Clyde's next, and Bruce, and May, and me, and Stanton, and Joseph. Joseph's a baby.
And you were born in this house, right?
And I was born in this house past this and here, down right here. The next house right there on the corner. I was born right there in the house. not that house, but an old house. And I moved here when I was 2 weeks old into this house. Paul was building it. During that time, got it finished and ready to move in when I was 2 weeks old.
Well, were any of your brothers or sisters, had they moved from Georgia, or were they all born once everyone got
They
here?
was all born here, not here at this place. I think Ruth, most of them was born over here around where Lillian lives. That's where Grandpa Green lived, right there where Lillian lives.
Yeah.
And I reckon they was all born right around here, over there and down there probably at Charlie's house.
Well, Raymond was talking about how they split up, I guess it was the 80 acres, and how the kids got them. How they split it
Well,
up?
my daddy bought the whole thing of Grandpa's place. Paul had, he had some here. I don't know how much he had. It was a big farm. And then he bought Grandpa's place over there. And this paid the heirs, their part. And Paul had it. Then he had, let's see, give Ruth 20 and me 20 and Bruce 20, and he give Clyde 30 up in Piney Woods, and he give Bruce 20, and he give me 35 up in Piney Woods. He said it was all, the rest of us had a home of our own, and they lived off from here, and he said they wouldn't never live on it no how, and he gave it to them. They sold theirs. And this divided it up like that.
Yeah.
His Paul owned from here to nearly to the old highway of land. It went way past Lillian's house over there towards the highway. And I reckon Bruce and Josie and them all still on theirs. I sold mine dead, my 20.
Where was your 20?
Right before Bruce's yonder way, going over
The
towards
highway.
Lillian.
Where
It was
Uncle
20.
Ed's house is, down the highway, Allegasco and all that. Trim pipe and all that, that was grandmother's 20. Trim pipe, Malagasco and Uncle Bruce's house, they built that highway right down between her part.
Yeah.
But
So,
didn't Granddaddy trade that for a Model A or something?
Yeah, but I don't think it was that far over. It was come down to Bruce's down there, and then between Josie's and Bruce's was mine.
Back then, that was way back in the woods, and this
Yeah,
was
that
civilized
new road
over here.
went there, then.
yeah.
This old road.
So your land, it wouldn't have been, you said Allegasco, all that, it wouldn't have gone down that far?
No, I don't believe it would. I believe it would have been up over this way a little bit. I don't know. It might have run that far.
Probably did, because Uncle Ed owned across the highway. He had to sell them. They had to pay him to put that highway down through that land.
Yeah.
And he got rent from Trim Pipe and Allegasco and all them companies that built on that side of the road. He got rent from them every month and a lease. So that was grandmother's. You can imagine 20 acres, how far that would go from Uncle Bruce's, back.
How old is this new highway?
I was 16 when they put the 4-lane in. So,
And you're
It's-
36.
37.
Yeah, 37.
So it's about 20, 21.
It used to run the highway, well, you know how the old highway used to run right in front of the Methodist church house up there.
Uh-huh.
And they moved it down a little when they,
But that was the only highway going to Birmingham,
Yeah.
Jasper. And then they cut it off and made it straight into Jasper to Memphis, straight through. To avoid going downtown, they just went through Carbon Hill and through that way.
Well, let me ask you some of these questions. A long time ago when I was in like 5th grade, I had asked you some questions on a different tape, but I can't find that tape now. What was, think of some of those questions. What was it like for y'all when y'all first got electricity?
what was it like?
What, as little kids, what did y'all think of it?
Well, we didn't have electricity when we was little kids. When we lived at the mines when I married, 16-year-old. We lived at Calumet Mines, and we had electricity there, but we didn't have it up here. And Paul and Tia's are pretty good sized kids, for we had electricity here. And they're talking about bringing the lights out through here, and my mother was old and she didn't have much mind. She lost her mind. And she'd tell me, she'd say, I don't know where I want to have them lights put in here or not. Says, I don't believe I could sleep with them lights in my face. And I'd tell her, I'd say, Mom, you can turn the lights off at night. And so before we got them, no, guy bought a battery radio, and we'd be playing it. And Mom would say, are you going to ask them people to stay all night? I'd say, Mom, that's just the radio. And we was eating dinner one day, and they had it sitting on the table there playing. And Mom said, are you not going to ask them men to come in here and eat?
Tell me about the first TV set at Gardner's Gin up there when your mother and father went up there to watch it and made your kids stay here.
Yeah, that was the first TV I ever remember. Green Gardner, Houston Gardner's granddaddy, I guess, had one. It was some of the Gardners, and I think Green Gardner was his name. And my mother and Daddy went up there in the horse and wagon to see it. And they made us stay here. They thought we, didn't want to take in a big crowd. And they went up there to see that TV, And Paul said, old uncle, he called him Sam Ayer, and I didn't never know him, but I believe it was Charles's folks. He had, I asked Charles, and I believe, it seemed like he said his daddy was named Sam. And when the first telephone ever come out, that old man, he didn't believe that they could talk to somebody and couldn't see them. And said they never could get in his head till way after they got telephones in, and he is somewhere in the phone. They were some of them sick, and they called a doctor. And that's the first time he'd ever heard somebody talk on the phone, Paul said the old man couldn't talk plain. He said, well, I believe. But Henry, he never did have no lights. He wouldn't have them.
Oh.
He never had food stamp or nothing like that. He said he won't tie himself up with the government.
Smart man.
Back then you had to have coupons to get a pair of shoes. And you had to have stamps to get sugar or cigarettes or anything. It just allowed so much. And he never had a stamp for nothing. Back then, I mean, times was hard back then.
Tell about the cars. When they listened on the road and going to school.
Yeah, Charlie's wife, that was Mo's brother's wife. She had 2 children when her and Charlie married, and her boy was named Bill Martin, and he stuttered when he talked. And there weren't no cars in this country, and us kids all walked to school, and Sarah's boy and girl, they walked with us, and Chester Black, a bunch that lived around here, you know. We'd all walk to school, and we'd get to the highway, and if we heard a car coming, it scared us to death. We'd all run to the woods. Back then, there's woods all out in front of the church over there, and we'd be passing that church house, and we'd run to the woods. And Bill, he is about like Brandon. No, he's old. He's about like Drew. And he'd get out there on the highway and lay down and put his ear on the road to see if he could hear a car coming. And if he heard one coming, he'd motion for us to run, and we'd run to the woods. He said you could hear him further with your ear down there.
Yeah.
And Paul had the first car there was in here. And he couldn't drive when he bought it. And Love Black was just a boy. And him and Spencer Black, that was a cousin of his. They knew how to drive. And they was bringing it home foreign from Jasper. And then in front of the old cotton mill, where the lumber yard is now up there, what's the name? North Allen. Right that, it's on the highway. There was a bank. It was High Bank. And them boys lost control of that car and run it up on that big high bank up into the woods. They had the awfulest time of getting it down.
Have you ever driven a car?
I just around the house. I used to haul water a little bit. I had to haul water at the mines up a big hill. When guys be at work, I'd haul water a little bit. That's all.
Yeah. Well, where did you go to school?
Union Chapel. And in the summertime, I went to Boulder. They had summer school there, and they didn't have it at Union Chapel. I started at that Methodist church up here at Chapel. Yeah. And I went 1 year to Cordova. And went the first year of high school, and that's as far as I went.
And then you got married?
Yeah.
Well, didn't you tell me something about when you were at the Methodist church, how there was just I guess a curtain separating?
The big higher students, higher grades was in front, and they had a curtain that's cut through the middle, and the younger ones was in the back. And this had benches, didn't have no desk. And I've been sitting there on my bench studying, and here'd come a big baked potato over that curtain. It didn't go all the way up, just up above her head, you know. And big old potato could smash you in the face. Syrup biscuit could fall off in a cup of syrup. And I remember a crow. I can't think of this crow's first name, but he was a teacher, and everybody just hated in them higher grades, them boys and all, and they'd feel it cold weather, he'd wear a raincoat, it'd be raining, and he'd hang his raincoat up in the rest place toilet in there, and them boys would fill his pockets full of water. That's do everything. I seemed like his name was Tom Crow. I know me and a girl was sitting on her bench, and we was giggling and whispering, you know, our heads together. He'd come back there and he'd pop me on the hand with a ruler he had in his hand, and he popped her on the hand. She said, "Oh, that hurt." He'd give her another pop. I didn't say nothing. I kept my mouth shut and I didn't get another. They finally ended up in a big argument. She argued back with him.
Well, what would you do of an afternoon after school?
We'd just walk home.
Did you have any chores to do or anything after school?
Well, we'd have to get in firewood. Sometimes we'd have to go out in the woods down here and help Bruce saw some wood, saw hickory tree up or something. One time he said he had big old fireplaces right in there. Had a big fireplace on this side and one on the other. He said he was going to get a back log. They always put a great big one in first and then build out in front of it your fire, and it'd last a long time. And he said he was tired of sawing wood. He's going to put in a back log it'd last. He was sawed down a big old tree down here, and we sawed it up. Us kids all had to roll. We rolled it up here, and we had a time of doing it, getting it through the trees and things. We got it here. We didn't have no way to get it in the house, and he got plank and lay down on from the porch floor down, you know. And we all rolled that big log up that and got it in the fireplace. Filled that fireplace up and we like froze to death. It's so much of it couldn't make no fire on it, just a little out on the hearth. He couldn't get it out. We had all the time that big log in there, and had to just out on that had a wood rock hearth. Had to build a little fire. We got it burnt back, you know, to where it could burn. Had big old. We didn't have no carpet or nothing on the floor, and the planks was, I guess, it's 12-inch planks, and they'd, I guess, put together green, and they drilled up, and there's cracks in them. You stick your finger through it. But, you know, we never did get cold. We all stayed warm around that fireplace. But I don't know how we done it. But we wore long underwear and big outing gowns under clothes.
And how many people were staying in this house?
Seven kids and one pop.
You think it gets crowded now, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it just had 3 rooms in it. It didn't have this back room on to it.
Jasper like back then? How often did y'all go to town?
Well, Paul, early in the spring, he'd go to town, he'd buy a barrel of flour, and we always killed big hogs and had our lard and our meat, and he always raised enough of that to do us, and he raised everything we eat but sugar and coffee and flour. He'd go buy enough to do us all the summer. Buy a barrel of flour and 100 pounds of sugar, like that, in the spring of the year.
So it was
And
just
in the
that
fall,
one
he'd
big,
get- Huh?
so it was just that one or two big trips?
That one in the spring and one in the fall. But he'd go between times, you know, have to go to town for little things.
Yeah.
But not often.
Well, do you remember what Jasper looked like? What it was like back then?
Yeah, we used to, there where that old hospital is, you know, used to be woods out there. And Musgrove Park, there was a park out from that old hospital on the other side of the road from where we parked our horses. And I can remember that. It was so pretty. They had flowers in it. And that's about all they had, was just a big place of it, and had all kinds of flowers in it. And Pa'd tie his horses out on the other side of the road to them trees and walk on up in town. And I remember me and Estelle and May, we was pretty good sized kids, and they left us in the wagon. Estelle had gone with us, and they told us to stay in the wagon. They was going up in town for something. And we had a little money, I don't know where we got it, but we had some, and they went on, and we got tired of waiting, and we went up in town and went there at the well, in Jasper, you know, in front of the courthouse. And we bought a ice cream cone with our money, and we went back, and we was gonna keep our cone for a drinking cup. We eat our ice cream out with our fingers. We went up there at the well, we was going like these kids are just wanting to play in the water most. We was running water in our cups, you know, and they just wheeled it down. Made us mad. And they'd go to town and take eggs in a two-horse wagon. And us kids, she'd put us a quilt, and we all sat in the back on the floor on quilts, and take eggs off and sell them. And between times, when they needed like snuff or something, tobacco, they'd sell eggs and get it. Mom always kept about 100 hens. Them woods down there'd be full of hen nests, and we'd hunt hen nests. There used to be Bill Haywood had a little store over here, and Suze King lived down there at Love Black's old house, and would send us over there, us kids, with eggs to get the snuff and tobacco. If Pa ever bought, he never did buy much tobacco, he raised. But we'd stop at Susie's to see if she wanted to send for something, and we'd have to wait till the hens would lay maybe an egg or two to have enough to get it. And Perry Allred lived on the road over there, right close to Bill Haywood. That was Leonard Allred and them's daddy. Old man Haywood's daughter married Allred. And them girls that's cussed like a sailor, and me and May was scared to death of them girls. Boy, we'd slip by. And there's grapes all along the road, wild grapes. Just the hands so pretty, and we'd want to get us a bunch so bad, but we scared to death afraid they'd see us. We don't used to hearing women cussing like that, but they just cuss us.
Well, while y'all were in town, did you ever go to any, was there a soda fountain or anything around that y'all ever went to?
No, nothing. They had a popcorn, man sold popcorn out there on the square. And they seemed like they sold something else. They finally did. I know you could buy like cookies and things there on the square. They used to be a cripple. He's a kind of guy, Neat Copeland. He used to go through the courthouse selling little stuff like that. And he's acted like he won't ride. And I think that's the way he made his living. And he's a cripple. And he'd been married, but they separated. And the guy asked him here one day how come to separate. He said he stuttered. He said he couldn't want no use in feeding a cow and somebody else getting the milk. Nick's going to sleep. I tell you, times was different back then to what they're on now.
Well, could y'all tell much difference when the Depression hit? Did things change
Well,
much?
really, we didn't. This right here, 'cause we raised our stuff anyhow. And we had our meat and everything here, but on there, like shoes, you couldn't buy them without a stamp, certain stamps to buy them. Or you couldn't get grease without it. Or you couldn't get sugar, of course we had to buy the sugar. And coffee and such as that, but you just get so much of that.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get flour. But Paul always bought it with the barrel anyway, and we never did have to eat cornbread for breakfast. Lots of people had to eat cornbread for breakfast. Couldn't have the flour, but he bought his up anyhow in big amounts, and we just had enough to run us over. And he'd buy, when he'd go to get groceries, he'd usually buy a case of salmon, and they had great big old hoops of cheese. There's that big around. And be that thick. The best cheese you ever tasted. You'd always get a hoop of them. But something like loaf bread, we never did know what loaf bread was. We just get cornbread when raised at home. But lots of people had a hard time back then. I remember way back when Paul T. was little bitty kids, I don't know, they had, it's sort of like the WPA or something, they made bed back here in Charlottesville. They had a place, they'd make mattresses and give to people. They'd have to go in there and make them. And I can remember them laying them layers of cotton in there, and they'd put something over it and put them with big switches, whip it all over. And They done that there for a good while, but back in there. And they give you clothes up here at town. This Hamburg, Charlie's mother-in-law that lived down there, she is old, and they'd sent her some clothes, and they sent her a pair of bloomers. I sort of like her. See, there's that wide. She showed them to me. I went down there and said, I want you to look at here. Said they'd fit Charlie's old horse. Said, I ain't never wore a pair of them, no, I ain't a going to.
Well, I reckon I picked your brain enough. You start talking about bloomers, I just have to shut it off.
I was reading in one of them books that said, you put a little bit of vinegar in it.
I should have been more specific.
I always like clout, I put a pound of onions in it, and went in there and forgot it, let it burn up.
Okay,
I put mine in the churn.
You did?
Yep.
Well, I put mine in the jar.
I put it in that churn. I put me a head of cabbage in there and then salted it with 3 tablespoons of salt. Then I packed it down good with the dash.
child.
And I put
Get
zoom in on grandmother.
Mary Lynn come down here and made my picture, and I didn't know he had that thing to go with.
She thought he took a snapshot and set it down.
I thought he was laid on the arm of his chair. He said, now I want to ask you some questions. He began to ask me all kinds of questions about my grandboys.
And after you left, she thought of all kinds.
I bet when he got
Got trapped in the salt
played it back,
He
and
sold
then
it
I
out
said,
in the
Lord,
snow.
there's one right there for
Bloody
bloody
good
good
drinks
joke.
I wish I'd told him.
What, did she find one?
Not yet. She will though. Hey, Bubba.
Hey, I don't know if I ain't even see you or not because there's too much light behind
I
you.
hope so.
I hope I got you too.
You need to get all
He's
three
got-
of the boys. with
Oh,
the cake.
wait a minute, I'm looking for the cake now.
The cake's
Jeez,
on the
how'd you get
table.
your legs so
Get the boys
thin?
with the cake.
Who, me? Tan in bed. Oh, see, I'm gonna get this cake. I wanna get it zoomed
Went to
up.
the lake a couple times, I went to the lake.
Oh, okay.
Or have the boys come over here and stand on this side.
I went out there and heard girls screaming at me when I went. And I found out it was all them little girls that I used to go to church with at Old Mount Carmel.
Throwing rocks at you.
Yeah, get away. Y'all want a picture of us over here?
Yeah. Nicholas,
Yeah, y'all get over.
Mitchell, call Nicholas in there.
Clovis, go ahead and get over there with them, huh?
Call Nicholas before I hurt him. Oh,
Miss
Say to me.
Get up here,
called me
get
and
on,
said,
see who's
Larry,
calling.
it settled an argument
I
for
think
me.
Dennis is calling.
Which one Thomas was dead? It was Miss Jenright and her daughter, they were fine. Miss Jenright had it right, her daughter was right, usually the other way around.
Dennis is calling.
No,
Cute
I
little
think
thing.
he's the tallest.
No, Dennis is
No,
calling.
Dennis is calling.
How old are you?
We still got some growing though, so.
Yeah.
You're about 22.
Okay, this is
Picture you want here.
Yeah.
this is a close up.
You want some of that intellectual stuff?
Brother,
That's a close up.
We're all college graduates.
Where'd you graduate from? What's the matter, you?
Yeah.
You got a
Okay.
doctorate in BS, didn't you? Okay, that's
You went at the lake.
that's the cake.
Sir.
I can't get all y'all on there at the same time.
I took the dog. I took Ginger.
Well,
And I went out.
Close in a little closer together. I about got all of you on there at once.
This guy, girl,
There you go.
Let me do it and take a
this
picture
guy
of you
come
and
up
send
there,
it with
walk just like him, hair party, mustache, glasses, and everybody. I go, that's Mitchell. And I started hollering, Mitchell. And
Let
you
me
reach
have
down,
the
whoever it
camera.
was, reach down to pet the dog just like you would, you know.
Let me
He goes,
have it.
Shut
Take
up,
a
that's
picture
not
of you
him.
and
I
send
said,
it
it is
with the
too.
All right.
Uncle Mitchell. It was like, oh,
Just a sec.
never would answer. And I said, hey, that's not him. He finally looked at me and goes, your dog was
I get the
untangled. I
picture
just
of-
spent time. I said,
Rodeo queen.
Linda.
Okay, get back.
Okay. It's ugly in here.
Get on up closer. Get on up closer in there, Larry.
You hurt my feelings.
Come on, y'all. Get on over closer. Make room for Larry's belly.
Make room for Larry's belly.
Now don't get in front of Sandy.
He can't see anybody now.
I want to see the others. Let's see.
They ain't room to get everybody.
Go back through the door.
Well, you know, yeah.
No, them cats is in there.
I believe I got everybody. If
You got everybody.
I
That's
just
good.
barely
Let's
got
just
it.
eat the cake.
Oh,
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it.
get the rodeo queen.
I want to see who's tallest. Larry's the shortest.
We went to the graduation. Diane's graduation. Diane wore a dress and everything. Mama goes dressed like that. So where are you going, to rodeo or somewhere? Here's Diane, all dolled up, going to the graduation. You're dressed up like you're going to a rodeo or something.
Larry said I could wear blue.
That's right.
I hadn't
So
done
I took a
laundry.
picture up there in the bleachers. I said, oh, and here's a little shot of the rodeo queen.
Y'all believe
Okay,
me,
that's
Linda
good.
and I had.
That's your
Please
good
slice over Steve Trim's eyes.
Oh, we're talking about coming down. This woman,
Here's
this girl,
rodeo action.
blonde-haired girl carrying a baby, and she had one of those see-through dresses that keep the mesh. It's mesh. It's like lace, but you got the skirt underneath. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
She was walking in front of us. I can't think. She had that dress on, but that black thing was up in here. It had ridden up, and there's her butt.
Oh!
No panties, no nothing, just a bare walking there in front, and it was like Linda going, oh my gosh. She's carrying the baby, she gets all the way around to the fence, and it's like, she's standing there, and then it dawns on her. Then she's pulling all it, and I was like, oh mercy.
What part of the lake did you say that was at?
That was at the graduation.
Oh.
Poor girl, she's embarrassed.
Like the pictures we got of Diane pulling her hose.
At the wedding.
Yeah, the wedding. Star's wedding.
Well, let's get some cake. Y'all don't care.
Okay, boy.
Ice cream.
Now see, you already had 3 of these things put on there. Now they're gonna be wanting to fight over this.
Just something to dust. I got it.
Oh,
Larry
you're
can
gonna
have it.
tear the cake up.
Let Larry go. Daddy, I told you he was bragging about that crew cut.
That ice
Looks
cream.
good, don't
You
it?
was bragging about how you finally got him under the shears.
Oh, that ain't saying shit. Yeah, he cried after he saw I cut him a regular. I cut him a regular haircut.
We need the other ice cream.
You know what, Tom?
It's grown out.
I cut him a regular haircut first. I said, now see, you could have been getting these quality haircuts all these years.
And that's
Instead
when I should have left right
Instead
then.
of looking like you got the mane.
Because I still could have fixed it.
And
Yeah.
there was still enough for her to work with, but yeah, I should have left
And
right
then
then.
I come on back and give him a flat top. And when his mama cut it, everybody called him Spot.
Lie. Well, how come the 3 of them preferred me to cut their hair?
They just didn't know no better.
Like I told Linda yesterday, I don't trust him. He's an army man, he's military, he likes the crew cut. I'm grown up now, I don't much care for him.
What is this? The wet look now?
Yeah,
I like that haircut. I like that better than the oil.
You wouldn't believe I did it that way the first day, and everybody going, you got a perm, I love it. I did. I mean, all the women that Linda worked with, love it.
Cut the sun a little short, people like
Yeah, I'm
So now you're fixing your hair for the women Linda works with?
Yeah. All them old women.
work that thing somewhere else, won't it?
Well,
We need that other ice cream, Diane.
okay.
Yeah, we got cake and ice cream too.
Somebody's
Chocolate
fixing.
and-
How's that gonna go with
Well, how'd I cut it off, Larry?
Push that button.
Push the
How's
button,
it gonna go with
push the button in there
toothpaste?
by your thumb, I think. Ain't that one right there? Oh,
I thought this was my feature.
I love it when I lived in her house.
Ice cream.
Dick and I lived in there watching back there with me.
Ice cream.
They were listening. They come down there. They were fighting each other.
Let's go.
One or
You
two.
bold? You bold?
Two. All the
Bold.
time.
Dude, that's too bold. You couldn't say it.
That's Dick's first word.
You bold.
He said, on peak time, butthole.
Come in and grandma said that baby's making sense. One.
Junkyard on it all, if we run from that schoolhouse. You might say.
Well, where Banks is down there,
It joins Brother Banks.
down there at the foot of the hill. I don't guess he'll put a junkyard there. Maybe he won't.
I know you're preaching from wearing shorts. Well, I think you don't know like a preacher.
How come I don't have a camera?
He might put his business right on his office.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to find me a good blue tick to hang off his ear.
Looks like you've been hanging more.
How much you weigh, Tom?
Shut up.
When you gonna lose that, Daddy?
Why?
When you gonna lose it, Daddy? We got a pot on it. We got a pot going about how much you weigh this week?
Shut up, Tom.
265. I win! That's what I told you. First time he said, I'm losing weight. I'm down to 275. Yes! I want to be supposed I'll do this hilarious. So we got a pot running on the weight when she lose.
I still love you.
Thanks. Old Charles Tucker, I reckon he moved to, I saw him up there at some funeral. I saw him at
Sandy on the call on this little piece. He was gonna come up here and eat. Whoever's got it. I reckon he decided he wanted.
I saw Charles Tucker at Lisa Haywood's funeral up there. They said he'd gone crazy.
Oh,
Yeah, Charles Tucker. Used to live down
how old is he?
he's in his 70s. Early 70s. He ain't much older than Uncle Paul and him, is he?
Not too much. I don't know.
I don't think so.
John and Charles and Lester was the boys back when I was young. Ruth and Pearlie and can't think of the other girls. Now he's good older than Cole, I guess.
I talked to somebody up there where he lived, you know, up there at Winston County. He's got a big farm up there, a lot of acreage anyway. Said he's gone
Did
crazy.
his wife get killed?
Yeah, Mary,
Yeah,
she got killed several years ago.
yeah, I know it.
Had a car wreck up there.
She's going to work.
Yeah.
Going to work. Yeah, he got a big amount of money out of that.
Yeah. I saw him up there at that funeral home that night. That's the first time I'd seen him in 30 years, I guess.
Said one time, you know that McDonald's has that big lean now, like they're really concerned about our health. They're concerned about our health when they close down. I drive it in there. I just drive up and go, hey, this is Thomas. Yeah, what's your usual today?
You know, I see them women I worked with at the hospital 10 years. Half of them I don't even know them. They've all got like I am.
Yeah.
The way Jasper is, I just quit driving. Man, they so slow. You sit in line at Wendy's, you sit in line on.
You still be looking at them like they was young, or, you know, like you saw them last time.
They don't know me and all.
They got clocks set up.
I hate to ask them who they are. But before I find out, I passed Christine and two in the middle, but he come to see me the other day. She said that was I would never know him.
Oh.
I found it.
Were they gonna be by my first name? That's cheap. They closed, all those are, they're experimenting. All that was experimental. To see if it would really go over well.
Sandy, go sit down now.
They ain't put much money in
I'm
each
gonna
building.
leave these to the side.
They made the money back in
Now,
those,
we'll
so-
bring them over.
Yeah, it was just experimental. It was in Birmingham.
Just throw them away.
No, all of Birmingham.
Right.
Just experiment, they're running the analysis over there, how much they made.
That tablecloth's a mess, grandmother.
Huh?
That tablecloth's a mess.
It was fresh to start with, too. It's
Blowing in the dark.
Yeah, put this crap in this
Tom produced
Oh,
it.
yeah. Yeah, there you go.
I was telling Tom a joke at that one. You might tell that school, the booger man.
Ah.
Did I tell you that? James, Christine's brother.
Oh, yeah.
Always calling or telling her jokes to tell me. That's the preacher.
Yeah, me too. Hey, Tom,
Hey,
come here. Grandma will tell you a joke.
Should I set
No.
who's gonna tell me a joke?
Big brother said it. Said nothing to say. You won't think I'm all for bad, will you, Patrick?
Ain't any worse than what that name just told me.
I don't
Just
want-
runs in his family.
I don't want you to get up and do this now and pull.
Oh, boy.
This man took a preacher, got his new church. He had a good congregation, but he didn't get no money. And he said he believed if he hypnotized them, he could get a good bit out of them. He told them all that he wanted them to give everybody $5 that they did. The next day, he said he believed he could get more. He wanted 10 the next time he got that. The next time he said, but he was gonna try for 20. He got up the poor kid. On his watch around. Back up hypnotizing him. Talking to him. Swinging his watch around the clock. He said, oh, son. He said it took him 3 weeks to clean that church
I ain't ever coming back, Grandma's.
preached up there at Carver Hill. We was talking, I laughed, I cried. We were sitting out there talking the other day. He said, you know, I was just preaching in church one time. He said, it was just a little old country church. He said, but I had my hands full there. He said, I knew. He said, there was all kind of corruption in that church. He said, gambling, all the half of it, gambling, drinking and all. And he said, I knew I was in trouble. He said, I was preaching a good sermon. He said, I really had them moved, and I come to a pause in my sermon, and I was expecting an amen. And an old woman jumped up and hollered, bingo! I know that I was in trouble.
There's one preacher wrote a book that says things I couldn't tell from the pulpit. That happened to him, and he said on Palm Sunday, before Easter one year, he was up there. He's preaching a sermon. He said it's hard to get the attention of the older folks and all the children and everybody in between, get everybody's attention at one time. He said, but boy, I had them going this day. It's Palm Sunday, week before Easter. He said Christ is riding in to Jerusalem. They all laying the palm branches down, little children running over. He said the old people and young alike were on the edge of their seat. I had it so dramatized for them, just up there for them. Christ rode in Jerusalem on that donkey. Rode in, got to where he wanted to get. He says, and I got myself pumped up, and he says, and Christ got down from his ass. He said, and we should too. He said, old people dropped hearing aids, mouths dropped to the floor. He said, after that, I lost it. He said, we all might as well just went home.
Preachers gets what's told on them. Christine's been wanting to come up there and hear you preach. You know Christine, don't you?
Seems like I do.
It's guy's brother's girl, Leon Garrett's wife.
Was that old Lee's daughter?
Jim. Guy's oldest brother.
Oh.
Hey, Grandma, you ever heard of an Everett Hyche?
Yeah.
Not Evelyn, Everett.
Seems like I have, but I can't place where it is.
'Cause I got a map from the Alabama Land Commission the other day for the Townley area, and right behind the church, a person owned several acres of land, and it was an Everett Hyche. And everybody up here in the church knows you and knows the family, but no one's ever mentioned that Everett Hyche owned that land. And as far as we know, the Hyche still owns that land. Put this down. Can't vote to it.
Kenny Hyche, let's see. Horace Hyche, Uncle Joe Hyche is boy, lives up in there somewhere.
A different Horace?
Horace,
It's a different Horace than what you live over here.
no, the same one.
Oh, that's Erskine. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, Erskine was
Thomas's
Thomas's
boy, yeah.
but Horace was Uncle Joe's boy.
Who was Joe?
That was Miss Tranch's brother.
Granddaddy.
Thomas Hyche was his brother. Could be maybe one of his boys or something like that. Don't know what all his name is.
I don't know, but no one's ever mentioned that Everett Hyche lived up there. Is a thing.
Well, could you go to the courthouse and find out who it belonged
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I've got,
Don't carry it.
They may have sold it. You know, I don't know how old that little map is.
Yeah.
They may have sold that land and somebody said a Fines owns that land now. But the Fines owns the house that's sitting on the land. And on the map it's sectioned off with a little square around the house. They may own the acre that this Everett.
Don't work on my house.
Everett, that's a owner of man's name.
I don't reckon I ever did. It's funny, my daddy's brother, boy, Leroy Ayers, my sister-in-law called me Saturday from Texas, and she said she had a call from Alabama, and I said, well, who called you from Alabama? And said, she called his first name, I can't think of it, was Alan Ayers, and he was Leroy Ayers' son, and said that this man drove up through the window, and said the man got out, she was sweeping her porch, she's 93 years old, said come running up and hugged her neck. She had never seen him before, and said she looked at him sort of pulled back and says, well, who are you? He said he was Alan Ayers, and it was Uncle Lee, Paul's daddy's brother's boy,
Oh,
and he lived around Dora.
Dora,
Yeah,
over here.
yeah. I never did know why I lived here. They come every year from Arkansas to that Aaron reunion, and it's going to be next Sunday. And he was going to visit them. I never did know that he lived.
Huh.
Didn't even know there was one to that name.
So that'd be what to you?
My first cousin's boy.
Your second cousin.
Don't bend down.
There's a bunch of errands.
Yeah. I didn't know they had an Aaron reunion here until several years ago. And they've been coming to it. They always stay and get them a room in town and stay, but they always come by to see me. It's the
They're from Arkansas. And they're who?
Aaron.
I mean, what?
They're Paul's brothers. Children
Oh,
comes here.
well, that one lives over in Bodo, can't tell you.
Yeah, he was the first cousin. That was Paul's brothers.
That's Pat Aaron's boy.
Your bells off the
Pat
bed.
is Paul's
Window.
Oh,
How's Erskine? How she does?
His first cousin to Jack.
People ask me that. Seems like they know they knew him. I don't know how, what to tell them.
first cousin to granddad.
Yeah. First. Their daddy's his brother.
You know, Thomas could hurt you, son.
So I take it you don't play golf much anymore? Still at your clubs?
Look at him.
You need me to take care of them for you?
I might get better.
Mike's growing chickens behind too.
You got some clubs, don't you? I got a brand new bag. So, a brand new bag.
He gave me all the towels. He said that.
My clubs are just clubs I've picked up here and there.
Oh,
He give
fill it up for you, Dad.
Can't wait, Thomas. He's got to preach
I
tonight.
got preach tonight.
Yeah, you're gonna look funny up there too like that. Tell her you just come from a wet t-shirt contest.
Didn't have baptism out here in chapel.